do, and we've chosen to do it on quality education in Australia, and we're focusing on developmentally vulnerable children, basically just people that have issues learning at school, whether it's through financial hardship or troubles at home, or they just struggle focusing in class, that sort of stuff. So if we can just first go around the table and say like your name and how you're related to school. So I would say like, my name's Zander, I went to a public primary school, public high school, public college, and now I'm in my third year of university. Yeah, so Courtney, do you want to go first?
I'm Courtney. I was publicly educated from preschool all the way through to year 12, so primary, high school and college, and I have been working in a public primary school for 2.5 years.
My name is Lindsay. I've been publicly educated from primary school to high school, and I am now in public college.
I'm Lewis. I'm still in a public primary school.
Yeah.
Which year are you in, Lewis?
I'm in year 5.
Year 5.
I'm Amanda, public primary school, high school, college in different states in Australia. Currently working in a public primary school and high school with children in all 3 public, so primary, high school and college.
Yeah, cool.
I'm Sarah, and I went to private primary school, public high school, public college, CIT type university, and I have kids in a private school for middle school and high school.
Yeah, cool. Alright, the first thing I'm going to ask to happen is if the 3 adults can please leave the room for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Do we trust you? That's the
Yeah, because I have a couple of questions for the others.
Okay.
I mean, you don't want to ask for their mum.
Okay, the first section is on parent engagement, like how your parents are engaged in your schooling. Lindsay, do you want to go first? Just a couple of words on how, like, often you talk to your parents about schoolwork. Do they help with schoolwork, that sort of stuff?
Sometimes they ask about what is happening, what do I have on. Sometimes I tell them like what assessment items I have coming up. Sometimes I ask them questions even though I know they don't know the answer.
Yep.
I'll just ask them anyway. That's about it. Yeah.
Would you normally say, would you say that you do well at school academically?
I've done better.
You've done better?
I'm slipping off a little bit, but I do average, I would say.
Yep. Lewis? Do your parents help with schoolwork, or do you do it mainly yourself? Do you ask for help?
Well, they can't really help because I don't bring much work home.
You don't have much homework yet?
I don't have any.
Okay. Do you have questions about schoolwork that you go home and ask your parents though?
Not many.
Not many. What do you find hard at school?
Maths and literacy.
Yeah, okay. And what do you find easy?
Reading and spelling.
Cool. Would you say you do reasonably well at school?
Yeah.
Alright. I'm gonna ask now you 2 to leave, and I'll get the other 3 in. And if you can fill out these sheets, you're gonna have like 3 minutes. I just want you to write down the first. So, what do you think matters most at school? And then you just write one word, whatever comes to mind first.
Okay.
I've got pens for each of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Should we go back
You
in?
can come back in now.
We can re-enter.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The first question I'm just going to ask, and I want everyone to give their 2 cents on. Do you feel that you're equipped to support your students' specific learning needs? I'll get you two to go first.
As in our kids.
Yes, your kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate?
Yeah, so what do you mean by support their learning needs? As in like them doing homework? That kind
Yeah,
of
so
stuff?
if they have questions about homework or I guess would you say you kind of understand what they're doing
Right.
at school on a given day? Like, do you know?
I know what classes they have,
Yep.
and we have apps that like tell us what they've got on, or if they've got assignments due, or that kind of stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of up on what the classes are in terms of the content. No.
Yeah.
In terms of if they have homework that is around maths or just about anything, then Google will be involved
Yep.
in me supporting them. But yes, I'm roughly aware of it. And Jono's only just coming into homework, and so that's
Yep.
a new endeavour.
Yep.
And he is an undiagnosed ADHD, I would suspect. And so homework will be a challenge for him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he'll need more support in that.
And you do use online things, whether it's Google or other things, to help
Yep.
him do that.
Yes. Yeah, at the moment we haven't had to support him yet,
Yeah. Okay.
but I think we
We're just
will.
moving towards it.
Yeah, Zach's pretty self-sufficient, but sometimes he'll ask questions and we have to like Google and work it out together.
Okay.
The kids need support in time management more than anything.
Yeah.
Because they're not equipped to deal with that.
Yeah.
I think,
That's something you think gets missed at school?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, primary school, they don't do any homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In public.
Yeah.
They don't think that it works. It just adds more stress at home, and they're right, it does. High school, they introduce it slowly to a point where they don't really do it at all. Like, you have time in class to do assignments, and then if you don't do it in class, that's where they
Yep.
shift it back home. So there's not really that prep work for college to make it like really like set it up.
We have lots of homework.
Yeah, which must stress you and the kids out.
Yeah,
But however, it
Yeah.
would help them
correct.
to
And
do stuff.
they have ramped it up a little bit since so they do middle school, year 6,
Yeah.
7, 8. And so they've like ramped it up from year 6. It's like a little bit and then it's more and more.
A
And like
little
this
bit more
year's
each
apps in
time.
year 10 and he's like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot. So he's
Yeah.
debating can he come to Friday or not kind of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's more to life than school. But so time management is something that can be helpful.
Yeah.
Although having said that, I think they're trying to work on a work-life balance.
Yeah.
So that's good. Other things, probably, I can help them with homework, that's fine. I'm aware of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Through Google Classrooms and things like that.
Yeah.
She's asking about t-shirts. Okay, that's fine.
Did you have anything to add on that? Or even the time management conversation?
Yeah, it's just because I graduated in 12 8 years ago now. So graduated primary school
A lot before
14
that.
years ago. Yeah. 6 years before that kind of thing. And we had homework in primary school.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been, in the scheme of things, a somewhat recent change, I feel.
They changed out COVID for us.
Yeah,
So
there you
COVID
go.
was
So
the
probably,
year
yeah.
I was pretty sure that I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had
Homework
homework
in
through
primary
primary
school.
school as well, and was definitely a case of it stressed me out.
Yeah.
And I was never given any time management skills. Like, I have since discovered, since leaving high school, college, I think that I have ADHD, which obviously contributes to it. But yeah, it's very much a case of like, I feel like our like kind of 5, 6s, because they'll have like research projects they need to work on, like their inquiry units, that kind of does, like, it's all in class, but that is kind of where they'll kind of teach you to, you've got to manage your own time to get this done, because you kind of want it done by.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think about the potential use of artificial intelligence in helping that time management for either schoolwork and or homework?
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
Yep.
Because it can help you. It can be a very good resource.
Yep.
Because the things that it can spit out at you are not always going to be the right things. You have to kind of navigate that.
Yeah.
It's the same as putting in a question for Google. You still have to navigate and get the right answer.
Yeah.
So it's not a horrible thing. It's, you can put in 15 items that you have in your fridge and cupboard and then say, give me a recipe and I'll give you one and you don't have to think of something, and that's great. That is a time management. You don't have to waste your time doing that. Awesome, let's do that. But having to learn that process.
Yeah. Still the critical
You
thinking.
still need to
Yeah.
learn to use it effectively.
I think it could be used for breaking down projects into small parts. So in terms
Yes.
of project management, being able, I think one thing they don't teach kids is, well, how do I split up this ginormous assignment
Yes.
into, like, it's due in 6 weeks, but I'm going to leave it till the last day.
Yeah, and do
So-
all of it in the last
Yeah,
day.
so even being able to kind of like put in, I've got this assignment, it needs to be 1,500 words, it needs to cite however many references. Can you help me make a plan to achieve it in 6 weeks,
Yeah.
allowing a week for revision or
Yeah.
I don't know, something.
Yeah, that's good.
Then it could
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
what's
like
the
help you
step-by-step
make a
process?
plan.
Yeah.
I think they're not good at the breaking down a massive task. It just feels overwhelming, and they don't know what to do this week, so then they just leave it all till.
Yeah.
Which we all do. Let's be real.
Yeah, absolutely. overwhelming, 2 and 3 days.
Yes.
Slam it.
Is that something that we think could be used in, because obviously that sort of thing is the sort of thing you wouldn't really get until high school. Is it something that could be implemented at the primary school level as well?
You could do it in an inquiry thing.
Oh,
for sure.
absolutely. But I feel like just with AI, it's a really fine line to balance, because you also risk them being like, oh, AI will just write my entire assignment for me.
Yeah.
And obviously there's repercussions with that.
Yeah.
And even like stuff like Grammarly, on
Oh, my
Well,
grammar's
like-
gotten awful since you
like,
did
but it's
Grammarly.
also like, no, but like it'll get flagged for AI because it will suggest like reword this sentence,
Oh yeah.
and it actually it has come up on like people's assignments I've seen like online and stuff, that has been flagged for AI
Yeah.
usage, and then they fail the assignment because of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Grammarly is a core part of my business.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, and because I'm going back to uni and back to uni in a few months, and yeah, it's very much the kind of that fine line of you don't want to get like I think it's super useful and could then also be used in an education setting. Like I know a lot of teachers who are like, kind of this is what, like, give me an activity that focuses on this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like it'll pop things out for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a super fine line to walk, because you then risk them just being like, well, the computer can do
I
all
don't
the
know what
work
to do
for
it.
me,
Yeah.
rather than the actual you like learning the skills then using the research skills.
Kids in primary school are very creative as well. And
Yes.
if they've got a tool that helps them with their creativity, it becomes like that crutch, and it's just like, I can't think today, I'll just pop it in here.
Yeah.
Which is okay some days, but you don't want it to be the first thing that they do. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
we'll do
Before
that.
I try,
Before
I'll
I
put it
try.
in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like no,
And
like
see if this does it for me.
If
Yeah.
it's your last step,
Yeah.
like, okay, what am I gonna do? If I've brainstormed, if
Yeah.
I've asked a friend, if I've asked the teacher, if I've done this, and I still can't think of the plan, then I can ask this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's using it effectively, it's
Yeah.
using it in a way that, yes, we've given them tools to go, and then this is the last one.
Yeah.
As adults, we can say, I've got nobody to ask, this is a field that's very specific,
Yes.
I don't know anybody in that field, I'm just gonna do this, take these things that I know are gonna work, and then do that, because we've got those a bit more critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all
It's
like,
easier to say,
yeah.
this makes no sense, that's completely wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus, I like that makes sense. Let me look further into
Yeah.
that.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for a lot of the kids, it's very much a case of none of this makes sense. Which is
They
the,
don't-
which
yeah.
is the point of education.
Yeah.
Is they're meant
Yeah.
to
Look further.
look further, and also
Mm.
like by the end of it, what didn't make sense at the beginning will now make sense.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get them back in.
Time's up.
I don't think our kids are allowed to use AI at all.
Yeah, I don't.
No, so A
they are either.
and U has policies on some assignments you're allowed to use it.
Yeah.
If the teacher says you're allowed to use it, you can use it, but you have to cite the
Yeah.
fact that you used it.
Mm.
Even if, whether it's like ChatGPT or something that rewords your assignments or that sort of thing.
Yeah, like grappling.
Jono uses it all the time at home to write code. He like
I've
games
used it
with
to
it.
write code in the past as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually not too bad.
he uses it in his work
Yeah.
all the time.
Okay, the next part I want to talk about is parent-teacher collaboration.
Mhm.
So, the question I've got written down is, how do you find that teachers and parents communicate about the goals of students, and how does that then reach the students? So, is there much conversation between parents and teachers, and then about what the aim is for your children or students in a particular subject, or just at school generally? And how does the student then, how are they then informed of that? This
In
is open
primary
to
school, there was a
everyone.
lot of conversation. We had like an app that you could talk to the teachers, but from middle school onwards, there's almost no communication with the
Yeah.
teachers unless there's like a big issue, unless you go to parent-teacher interview. And yeah, that doesn't happen until like midterm anyway. So it's kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
there's not a lot, like
Yeah.
to be honest, and really it's on the parent. If the parent wants to tell the teacher, hey, there's this issue, or can you keep an eye out for this thing? And the parents who are really demanding are the ones who have a lot of contact with the teacher.
Yeah.
And so most of us don't want to be the demanding
Yeah,
parent,
yeah.
and
So
we
you
don't
so you
generally.
could go, hey, where's my child at this, and this,
Yeah.
but it's not open to you really as a
I will
feasible
generally
thing.
wait for parent-teacher interview, which is about to happen. For
Yeah.
example, at this time of year, I'm just meeting with Jono's main teacher, not his like music and art. and,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm just meeting with the main teacher where I'll be asking the question, how's it going mostly, like with English and maths, and then we'll work on, and what can we work on at home.
Yep.
And then we'll move on. I'm not even meeting with Zach's teachers this time
Yeah, okay.
because it doesn't particularly seem necessary. He said there's no big issues, so we're not going to bother.
Yep. Okay.
Unless there was a big issue and they told us.
Primary school, it's fine, but I work in their schools.
Yeah.
You can have casual
It's,
chats.
it's
You're in a-
very much,
yeah.
so I don't usually do the parent teacher because but I do meet with them at the start of the year and say, remember, well, like we're on the same team, like we're team, this is this kid, we're team Lewis.
Yeah.
So if there's ever any problems, like let me know, let's have a chat.
Yep.
Sometimes they'll stop me in the hallway and go, I need you to be parent for a minute, so we can have that conversation. So I'll still do like the formal parent-teacher interviews at high school.
Yep.
Because then it brings the kid in as well. They always do that. So even though I still work there, and I'll make, Lacey doesn't know this yet because she's only in year 7, but I made Lindsay do it, so she has to do it too. Make the kids sit there because they either tell you the good things or the bad things, and they make you sit there and
It's
tell
good
the
for them
parent.
to be there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's good for them to hear the good things too.
Yeah.
There's, well, but I still do college ones as well, and I will meet with as many teachers.
Yeah.
Only because I don't know them, I don't see them, and same thing.
Yeah.
It's good for her to have a check-in with somebody there, or to have somebody who's next to her on her side to go, I have problems with this, or I can't do this, or I need help with this.
Yeah.
As well for that check-in to go, whatever. Or the teacher can go, why haven't you been to class? Or
Yeah.
it's not usually that. There would be messages.
Yeah.
It's never that.
Do you have anything to add?
I think so. I work predominantly with kindergarten, so like 5 and 6 year olds first year of formal school.
Yeah.
So we the parents are very, for the majority, are picking and dropping off and picking up at the door.
Yeah.
So you're
They're involved.
yeah, so you're always able to kind of have those conversations of like, you know, we're at the situation where the teacher I work with is like, here's the list of all the parents I need to speak to today because their children have issues. Or like she'll send emails and stuff. So I feel like there's a lot of that, but I'm just, from what I witnessed in primary school, as they get older, the less you see of the parents.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because by the time they get to year 6, the parents are like, you know, meet me in the car, walk home, or like, you know, you also have kids that go afters.
They're used to being at school, so they're
Yeah, exactly.
more
Well,
confident
the kindy
there.
ones,
Yeah.
even the ones that I've actually was really interested, even the ones that have siblings, they're still being picked up like at the door. While you know my little sister was in kindy when I was in year 6, and mum's like, you can get her, and then walk her to the car.
Yep.
Kind of thing. Yeah, but I feel like, and you know, because you said that you still do the parent-teacher interviews, just from my own schooling experience, my mum only met with my teachers if they requested it. That was the only reason she'd meet with them, and I think she was the same for my siblings as well. It was only if it was requested, because like with the high school you get like kind of a mid-semester report kind of thing.
Yeah, we had the same thing.
Yeah, and it would say parent-teacher interview requested.
Yeah.
She would only go to the ones that said yes.
Yeah.
And then in college she didn't go anywhere. So I would say you're very much an involved parent compared to what I experienced. But
involved.
no, but I think that's a good thing though, because
Yeah.
like it's showing the support and very much like your thing of, you know, we're team X child kind of thing. Yeah, which is a good
I like
thing.
to do that for the teachers as well though.
Yeah.
Because like that I've kind of think that kids don't succeed unless there's a village.
Oh, absolutely.
So like
Absolutely.
I'm in the village but I need help.
Yes.
And you're my help.
Yes.
You teach them math. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Like they need that.
Yeah.
Like you do that. I'll do the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We'll get that guy to do the English and he can
Yeah.
do the chemistry.
And yeah.
And then team Lindsay will
Yeah.
she'll know things.
Exactly.
Yay.
Yeah.
Go, break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she can do karate, like
Yeah.
we'll
Exactly.
do it.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Which is a very good opinion.
Thanks.
Unfortunately not one that some parents share.
Some people don't. Yeah. Yes.
Alright, I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay and Lewis now. Do you want to just, on the same sort of topic, are you, when you're given goals at school, are you given goals at school by the teachers? And is it mainly focused on the results you get on your assignments? Or is there feedback on things you can do going into assignments or tests about the amount of effort you're putting in, or your time management, or your study habits, that sort of thing?
I get goals and it's mainly after like assignments and tests. So for like, here's what you can work on.
Yep. So you do a test and then they review with you afterwards. Here's what you can work on better for next time. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I don't really get goals.
Yeah.
I just sometimes at the beginning of a lesson, the teachers will remember, oh, we're supposed to do like intentions for the start of class,
There's
and so
objectives.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what you should remember or learn in this lesson, and they don't do that very often because they forget.
But even then, at least from my experience, it was more of just a thing that was done rather than these are the things that we're learning. We're gonna keep
It
coming
was
back to
just
this
a
and see
slide
if
in the
we've learned this.
presentation.
It's just another slide. Yeah.
Wasn't anything that anyone could
Yeah.
notice on really.
And I'll go Lewis first. Have any of your teachers spoken to you about like when you do, because you don't have homework yet, right? And you're doing most of your work in class. If you don't get a piece of work done, say you've been asked to fill out a sheet and you haven't got all the answers down by the time the teacher says to come back, is there anything that happens about, next time maybe try doing it this way, you might get to the end a bit quicker? Nothing on that sort of, no? And
If
then
you
do you,
don't finish work, then you just have to miss out on break to finish it.
oh, okay. And Lindsay, I'll ask as well, have you had teachers speak to you about time management?
Not really.
It's more only if you're struggling.
I definitely do have a time management problem. but it's not really something that's addressed. It's sometimes just like you really need to work on your time management, but
But
there's
that's
no
all it is.
solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a joke. Like,
Go figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. The next little bit that I've got is on digital equity. So I've got a comment here. It says approximately 13% of Australian primary students have inadequate access to digital learning tools.
I'm just gonna ask you something.
Okay, good. Have inadequate access to digital learning tools at home, which disproportionately affect vulnerable students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So essentially, people who don't have the resources at home are obviously finding it harder in school to get things done. Is this something that gets spoken about in school, probably more for Courtney and Amanda? And what sorts of approaches are generally taken to minimise this?
Well, the ACT government since 2018 has had a scheme where every student from year 7 to year 12 gets a Chromebook.
Yep.
And so over the course of the 6 years, they'll have 2 Chromebooks, one for year 7 and year 9, then the warranty runs out, and then so they get one for them for 10 to 12.
Yep.
And so that does address it to a point. However, and this is just stuff I've heard because, you know, my housemate used to work at a high school library, so she'd come home and tell me,
Yeah.
you know, you've got kids that might have access to the internet at home. You've then got kids who just don't charge their Chromebooks. And you know, that could that's a variety of reasons, from just
Being
forgetting,
lazy. Yeah.
being lazy, not doing it, to maybe they don't have the electricity, like you kind of just don't know.
Yeah.
In primary school, they've got access to like reading eggs and maths online, and we give them their logins that they can take home and do it at home if they wish to.
Yeah.
But it's also not a compulsory thing.
Yeah.
And then at our school, years 2 to year 6 get access to a Chromebook, but it stays at school.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know definitely for high school, everything was done on the Chromebook.
Yeah.
Like the kind of no pun intended everything. But it should be the same for college as well. But yeah,
You get Chromebooks, pen and
Yeah.
papers.
you do have it.
Yeah, that's what we had as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I pay for a laptop.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the thing about going to a private school, though, I guess.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
Did you have anything to add on that, or?
No, like it's similar in our school. 3 and 4 have access to our year 2s don't.
Yeah.
I think they have they can.
So yeah,
Like a
I think
trolley.
our year 2s don't use it very often,
Yeah.
and it'll only be kind of like sort of start practicing typing skills.
Yeah.
And then 3 to 6 use it more.
Yeah.
But I do know like the primary school one of my friends works at, kinder use it. Like they're using it from kindergarten.
Ours don't use
And I'm like,
anything till year 6.
couldn't even-
Yeah. I mean, they have like a computing class where you go to the computer
Yeah.
lab place
Yeah.
during primary school, but that's like 1 class a week.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you go to the library,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you do a slideshow on dolphins or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
You're practicing typing.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I would imagine there would be some parents who would be more supportive of kids playing around on reading eggs and stuff at home, and other parents who don't
Who
really
wouldn't.
care and
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
put investment in. So I
Yeah.
think there's disproportionate stuff there where
Yeah.
some kids are getting advantages, not because they don't have access, because potentially they've both got the access, but just one is encouraged and one isn't.
Yeah, and
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. The next little section we're going to go to is actually how teachers are taught to interact with students. Are teachers doing continued learning as specifically on how to deal with students that are struggling once they're already a teacher?
So teachers have to do, and learning support assistants as well, which is what I come under, have to do 20 hours of professional development a year outside of normal working hours.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to go like seek out your own PDs and stuff. So
But it doesn't say what that is.
yes.
Yeah.
So for me, I work in a library. I can listen to a library podcast for an hour, and that ticks off an hour's worth.
Yeah. Okay.
So are they specifically seeking out a
But it's
6 hour?
a choose your own
Yeah.
adventure rather
Yeah,
than
rather than
It
that.
has
yeah.
to be
You
related
can choose to do the easy things rather than
Yes.
the
Yeah.
things that are going to help.
So for a teacher, well, I'm a learning support person as
Yeah,
well.
school
so,
assistant, yeah.
school assistant. So that's why a podcast works for me. So for a teacher, it has to be at a TQI. It has to like
Which is their, like,
it has to be like a legit one.
Yeah.
So it has like it's a bit harder for them to get
Yeah.
theirs. Does it have to be specific to learning to support student behaviour
But it's
and
not.
welfare?
You have to do
No.
a certain number of hours in this area and a certain number of
No.
hours in this
Should
area.
it? Probably.
Yeah.
Potentially, yes. So like every 5 years, you have to do
You do a
two
refresher course on
of your 5
whatever
days.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 days has to be for this and
Yeah.
for this
Yeah.
and for this and for this.
Yeah, and
that
like,
would be a good idea.
and not necessarily formal professional development, but we have an inclusion coach at our school.
yes,
Yeah, and so we will often, you know, if kids are struggling, we'll often go to our inclusion coach as kind of a thing of, because more often than not, a lot of like the kids we're kind of having issues with are under those ADHD, or we go to like executive teachers because they're like there's family kind of things going on.
Yeah.
And that is kind of where we go to the inclusion coach because we're like, how can we better, like what ways can we improve this? Like how can we better support this student?
Do you think the current curriculums are suitable for supporting all students?
Current curriculum.
Yeah. Like the sorts of things they get taught. Say a year 5 student like Lewis. For some students, that's probably exactly what they need to be learning.
Yeah.
For other students, it's probably a bit behind where they need to be learning, and then other students, it's probably a bit ahead of where they need to be learning.
Yes, I agree. I also would like yes, basically, because Zach could have done with being advanced in some areas, but then he was really behind on spelling and handwriting, for example. And there was at one point some support, but then it just stopped.
Yeah.
So that he needed both, if that makes sense. So I think all kids probably need both extension and support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like life skills. I don't feel like there's enough life skills in curriculum to just
Yeah.
help kids understand the important things that they're gonna need in life.
There is
Yeah.
Not just the
Teaching
education.
like soft skills rather than hard skills.
Yeah.
So
how
how-
to relate to people, how to
Yeah.
like talk to someone who's a professional
So
in a shop.
we have
or
like
like-
I don't know if you did it, I'm sure you did it, Colin. We do like social emotional learning.
Yeah, our school
Yeah.
brought that in this year as
Yeah.
well. So
Or and like
and we do
when-
that too.
yeah, we use a program called Bounce Back where it's kind of talking about resilience.
Yeah.
A lot of it's about resilience. And a little bit of those soft skills.
Yeah.
And also just like how to be a good human. Like at the moment in Kinder we're focusing on how to be kind.
Yeah.
Because some of them really aren't.
Yeah.
Because safe wasn't working, so we're going with kind.
So same thing. It works for the 60% in the middle,
Yeah.
but there's
Not
20%.
the 20% at either end.
The 20% other end.
Yeah.
The 20% on the bottom, they usually have an ILP, an individualized learning plan,
Yep.
that supports them, or changes the curriculum enough so that the 60 to 80% of the curriculum that they can understand, that's what they will be graded on.
Yep.
So that's what they get.
Yep.
But the 20% at the top, which sounds horrible to say, they're not really extended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to be to a point where you could go, all right, well you're in year 3, but you're reading at a year 4 or year 5, so you can go over here.
You can
and
do that
you
stuff.
can do
Yeah.
that. Having said that though, they kind of, in our school, they split up So we've got all 3, 4 together, 2, 3, 4 classes, but they mix them all up for
Yeah, okay.
maths.
Yeah, that's what ours
So-
do as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
we've got
So it's
Depending
not
on-
year 3 and year 4. It's a class that has year 3 and year 4
Yeah,
students.
so we've
Yes.
got
Yeah.
3 different groups, and it doesn't matter what year level you're in. If you need to be in this group, you're in that group.
Yeah.
And you're the
Yeah.
catch-up group, and you're learning.
You're
all
the
of
way
those
you're
things.
at
Yeah.
group, and
You're there, and that's okay. You're there, and you're there, and you're learning similar things, but
just at different levels. Yeah.
So they're kind of getting there.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And I
But
really-
there could be.
I feel like as well for the bottom 20% who, because you know you've also just got kids who don't necessarily have the ILPs.
Yeah.
And who are just low.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, despite you talk to parents about it, they're a little bit of heads in the sand a little bit.
When a student has an ILP, is that you've gone and spoken to the parent and
They
said
usually have a
we want to get
Usually there's
Okay.
a diagnosis, and what's involved in that is they have like 3 short-term goals and 3 long-term goals.
Mhm.
Like what are they going to achieve by the end of the term, and then what are they going to achieve by the end of the year,
yeah
kind of thing. And the short-term goals relate to the long-term goals.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about also equity in terms of financial equity, sometimes ILPs depend on that, because if you can't afford
To get a diagnosis.
to get a diagnosis, which includes going to see specialists,
yeah
and sometimes a few different specialists, then you can't afford to get the diagnosis.
And even just like
And
the,
they're not-
the
sorry.
cost of like the therapies and stuff as well.
yeah, and it's not an ILP isn't something that's being offered to students that don't have a diagnosis, but just you can see they are struggling.
Some
It
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 really
depends.
depends.
In kindy, yes. Like we had one last year who now has a diagnosis, but it was very much at the beginning of the year. Parents' head was in the sand.
Yeah.
it depends on
Yeah. But he had
the
an ILP.
school, the executives, a wellbeing team. If your school has a psychologist,
Yeah.
if
Which
the
not all do.
parent is on board, which not all of them are, and a social worker, like the village, it needs to be massive
It's
Yeah.
huge.
for a kid without a diagnosis to
Yeah,
be
okay.
able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I kind of mentioned before though is like, teachers will often have to differentiate. Like what we'll do is kind of, you'll give the whole class instruction, then you'll send them off.
Yeah.
And then we do what we call a catch group, which is kind of your group of kids that either, and it could be the kids that are high and need some extension, or it could also be the kids who are low. And more often than not, unfortunately, it is the kids who are low.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the kids who are high and getting it done really quickly,
They just
they
sit there
they
and twiddle
don't.
their thumbs for a
Unfortunately,
bit.
they don't have as much extension.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, it's very different in kindy compared to some of the other years.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to kind of do that extension at the beginning of kindy because you've got you've got some that can kind of already read, so you kind of just get extra work for them.
Yeah.
It's like kind of now do this, or like if they're the class is writing I am and their name, you'll kind of extend those like, can you write I am this person, I am in this class, like kind of add a few more things into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as it kind of gets up, it does get harder because the gap gets bigger.
Can I just say quickly about
Yeah.
the curriculum? In college, like obviously there's accredited and tertiary,
Yes.
but like I'm in a somewhat high maths level, higher than I should be class, but like in that class we learn like tan, cos, sine, like stupid graph things that I don't even know what they are. But then in the accredited maths, it's like, here's how you do taxes. Here are the budgeting
practical.
maths.
Yeah,
This is what you
actual
actually
practical
need
Yeah.
to
The
be
practical
a
stuff
functioning
rather
person
than the I'm going to go
outside
to
of school.
university.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You almost need both if you want to do extension.
Yeah.
You still
And,
need
and,
to
and
have
they,
your
they literally
So-
call it extension, essential maths.
Yeah.
essential maths.
Is what the
Yeah.
accredited one's called.
exactly.
which is way more interesting anyway.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like the people who are being extended the most, like they lack all
They're
of these
missing the bit
real
below.
skills.
Yeah.
Like, I could do a bunch of smart people things, but then I would have a mental breakdown about having a phone call Like I didn't know how to do anything, but I could do all of this random useless stuff. That was cool.
And
For an A.
it's book smarts versus
Street
smarts.
smarts.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
When
the
do you
same thing
learn
I
street
found as
smart?
well.
Yeah. And
Once you get
that's been your
Once you
whole
go
lesson.
into having a real job,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you have to learn it on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you kind of strive toward getting the best ATAR. But then, people that will get, you'll also, especially, if you go into teaching but you had a really high ATAR, they were like, well, why aren't you going to something else?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know we're basically at the time where we need to go out and teach class
We've
now.
got approximately 3 minutes.
3
Yeah.
minutes. All right.
Yeah.
We spoke a little bit about AI earlier.
Yeah.
What are some of the repetitive tasks that teachers or learning assistants are doing on a daily basis that could in the future be replaced or at least aided by those sorts of devices? Like, what's the sorts of things where you get up, you go to work, and you're like, I've got to do that again.
Even if they could laminate. I'm seeing laminating and cutting and cutting and laminating and cutting and
I love laminating.
I do, but not when there's just a lot and you just over.
A printer that could cut your sheets into the right
Oh,
size
that
and
would be
laminate them.
I
amazing.
think that once things are done, then they could potentially just be done forever. So the curriculum is the curriculum.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
once it's done and it's done well,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily need to change it that much.
Yeah.
What AI could do is extend this. So that you
Yes.
don't, once you've met the base level,
Yeah.
extend
For
it.
the
make it-
extended
that
students
whole,
that
Extend
Yeah.
this, make it 10% harder, make
Yeah.
it 20% harder, and then you can go, alright, now you can have
Now
that.
do this
Yeah.
shape
We have
instead,
a
yeah.
like something
do
we
this one.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we
Or
use it at
make it
school.
10% easier.
Yeah.
And do the same
20%.
thing for the students that can't get
Yeah.
ILPs.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we've got this thing that's what we call low floor, high ceiling. 'Cause, you can't just have low floor, low ceiling because then you're missing the people up here. You also
Yeah.
can't have high floor, high ceiling because then you're missing the people down here.
Yeah.
You kind of have that low floor, high ceiling, so you're getting
Everybody.
everybody.
Yeah.
I feel like there's even just little stuff we have these little expert word keyrooms for the kindy, and every week the teacher has to, she's got the grid up already, and she has to go and type in the word and then copy and paste it 22 times.
Yeah.
To then print, laminate, cut it out.
Things where
And
she
there's
could
a
just
one on
press
each period.
one button and it gets done.
Yes.
Instead of, even if it's only 5-10 minutes, it's 5-10 minutes every day.
But
Yeah.
exactly.
And then which areas of learning do you think it's most important for the student to have face-on-face interactions with the teacher? So to give a bit of context, would you say when they're initially taught something, when they're reinforcing what they've learned, and they're being tested, or the review after testing, and then if there are particular subjects?
I think
Obviously, it's best to have face-to-face for everything.
everything except the testing. I would say the biggest priority would be the initial teaching.
Yeah.
And then the reinforcement of it. But the reinforcement could also be do a quiz.
Yeah.
Like here's some extra reading you can do to kind of test your knowledge, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the initial teaching especially, and because I found that my college maths teacher would be like, go on maths space, do it all on there, all your formulas stuff in there, and wouldn't actually teach the formulas.
Yes.
And I really struggled, ended up dropping out of maths in year 11 because that initial teaching phase was being done by a computer.
math space. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Initial.
Okay.
Because you can ask clarifying questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of subjects, the most important being English and maths.
Would you agree with that?
Definitely the initial learning. I have a great
Yeah.
maths teacher. So then, because the initial stuff is done in class with a teacher where I can ask questions, and then sometimes some of the reinforcement is done online. And we can still do that because the initial was in person and easy.
I'd had science stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had a super awesome science teacher one year and he excelled dramatically.
Yeah.
And then last year we had a terrible one and he hated science for the entire year.
Yes. And it's interesting,
And I'm
like,
sure he didn't learn anything.
and it's
from it.
Yeah,
interesting how
I stopped
teachers
doing
train
science
things.
because of math
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah, and like my year 10 math teacher was amazing, and would write all the formulas, but would also like put things in different colours so you could tell like what represented what, and like
Yeah.
was so good. And then goes to leave it out, and it's like nothing. But yeah,
Cool. That's it.
Cool.
Thank you.
all
Did
good.
you actually get through all of it?
Thank you.
I had a discussion question for if we had extra time.
Okay.
We didn't do that.
Alright,
That's right.
Great job.
Awesome. Great job, crew.
Great job.